It's the OCGFAM show. Today we're going to talk about pushing it all the way to the limit and then pulling back just a little bit. It's going to be a lot of fun. Let's get into it. Hey there. Bob from Oregon's Constant Gardener. Welcome to the OCGFAM show to you, my YouTube buddies. What's going on? How's everybody doing? Let me know in the comments. We'll talk about it after the show. Right now, let's just get into the show. I think I got a good one for you today. I got a good clip. So if you're pushing it, taking it to the limit with the Herculean Harvest in concert with the Bloom Chaos to push more of that in there, Scott has often said, push it right to the point of tip burn and then pull back just a little bit. That's where you find the edge. But this was a good question. When you do that, when you push to the limit and then you get that tip burn, a little bit of tip burn, you see that and you start pulling back a little bit, how much do you pull back? I thought it was an interesting clip and a great question. So I want you to watch the clip and I'll talk to you after. Adam Fishwick. Now this is a good question, I think. I've wondered about this myself. So he says, I'm using 5 mils of BK, Bloom Chaos, and 30 mils of Herc and starting to see some tip burn. How much should I back off? So when you've gone too far, you're pushing until you get a little tip burn. We've always talked about that, to get as much as you can in there. But when you do, how much do you pull back?
I mean, I don't think it's the BK or the Herc.
Well, okay.
It's a pH issue in the soil.
Okay, well, let me ask you that then. So let's two questions here. One, if you're going to back off from 30, would you back off to 25 or to 15? If that was the issue.
25. I wouldn't back off too far because if you went from there to there and you just saw it, if you back off half, then you're now starving again. But oftentimes that tip burn is overwatered. That tip burn is high humidity in the room. The plants are transpiring. It's, you know, I've had a lot of people that show me tip burn with 170 parts per million in their soil, and they're saying it's burning. No, it's not necessarily that. It can be humidity, it can be transpiration, it can be overwatering, it could be pH imbalance. So at 5 mils and 30 and you're getting tip burn, I bet you we're having an environmental condition situation more than anything else. At that point, I mean, I'd be checking my slurries, I'd be checking my VPD, I'd be checking my high and low temps and my high and low humidities and how they correlate during the day and night cycle. If all of those are perfect, then I might drop my Herc down by 5, maybe 10 mils, and I would drop the Chaos out altogether because you might just be sensitive to chaos.
So if I see these issues and I'm trying to figure out what's wrong, but I just don't know, I should look at that it could be a variety of things, but while I'm trying to figure out which of those variety of things it is, what would I do to mitigate the situation as far as my feedings?
I hate missing beats. So, I mean, it's like, my kid's crying a lot, so I'm going to stop feeding it for a week to see if it stops crying. So you 25 it, and you 25 it, but you'd look at your other issues, and you drop the BK while you're doing that? The first thing I do is drop the BK. Yeah. Because that's showing you whatever the condition. Like, when you apply BK, it's going to tell you what internally is going on with that plant. And all of a sudden, you're like, everything was smooth. I added the BK, and then everything went, and it's like, well, they needed X, Y, and Z. So you back off the BK and you build back up your base, then reintroduce the BK to see how that triggers that plant again. So when I see, I mean, 30 mils is like, dude, that's what I feed my orchids. I mean, it's 30 mils a gallon and you just soak them in that and there's just no response. So it's a hard one because I think a lot of times we go right to the nutrition and we're not looking at the environment as the big picture.
So, two things. If he was at 90-15 or something as opposed to what he's talking about, would you more quickly assume that it was that and you would back that off?
We've now pushed it to a level where it's like, okay, go back to 60 and 10 or even, start exponentially dropping it back. However you pushed it up, push it back.
So, I guess, if you, had your engine in your car and you just turned it up all the way until it exploded and then you take it apart and you figure out that it was the oil pump that was the first thing that failed, you put a new oil pump on and then you blow it up again and you see which thing blows next. The BK is kind of like that, where it stress tests the situation to where you find out what the problem is.
It is unadulterated NOS.
Yeah.
It is it. It is, I already run high octane stuff and then I throw this alcohol fuel on top just to see what happens.
And I'll see where the constraint is in my system from that.
real fast. I mean,
Okay.
it is the hidden hunger exposure. It shows people. I've done it when we first started off trying to get people on our system, and we'd go into certain grows, and we could literally take chaos, foliar feed a branch, and within a few, like 15, 20 minutes, we could see how starving their plants really were for certain ingredients. And it really comes down to, doing that foliar test and running Brix meters on them and going, oh, well, they're hungry for this, this, this. And when we applied this, it instantly showed us that your plant has none of these. And so they can torture a plant that's not well fed.
If you were gonna, go ahead.
But at 5 mils,
It's not. You're not.
It's an environmental.
Oh, when I teach people how to buff cars and I get them the Orbital Buffer, they're like, "Well, I'm worried about burning." I'm like, "No, you're not gonna. You try to, But if they get the big rotary buffer thing with the big wool pad on there, I'm like, you be fucking careful on those edges. And that's kind of the
You're
situation.
Gonna find metal real fast.
You're gonna find it real quick. But with the little machine and doing the thing, it's like, no, if you can sit there all day, you're not gonna dig through that paint.
Yeah, that's 9 years before you see paint removal.
Okay. Okay, what do you think of that? Informative, entertaining, helpful? Do you do this? Do you push as hard as you can, or do you just try to go with the flow and keep everything on an even keel? I'd be interested to hear about that. So let's talk about that in the comments, and anything else you want to bring up for the next viewer questions episode. That's the show for today. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow. The OCG Fam Show. It's pretty good. It happens every day. It's the OCG Fam Show. See you tomorrow.